The Colonists. The Colonists. This is called the epic strategy game, The Colonists, indeed, because it feels like an event game that you need to prepare mentally and physically to play this game. First, because you see the size of this box, one of the biggest. This is larger than usual kind of board game box, and it's very heavy because it's full of content. I'll show you. You cannot see much from the back, but basically in this game you will be building your own colony, thus the name The Colonists, while others are building theirs, and it will go through maximum 4 eras. In each era you play 5 years, in each year you play the summertime and the wintertime, so lots of actions, but you don't need to play the game that long. You can play just a few eras that you agree in the beginning of the game with other players, or when you feel like it's time to stop, you can stop in the end of the year. So that's not a problem. But this game speaks to me because I look at the cover and I see this is kind of an Agricola thing. It's also a Mayfair game, so the artist definitely is the guy from Agricola, at least it seems like it, and Tibor, etc. And that's the kind of thing you have on the inside. It's filled until the very top. This is a game that if you have some kind of insert, it will help because those 4 arrows will bring different cards, different tiles, different everything. I only have plastic bags written, so I'm going to show you what I have, and then please find your way. So you have these 2 manuals, a bit thick. It's a used game, so it had some plays. You can see that from the bendings and the marks on the paper. Manually is standard, what you would expect. Lots of details. This is not an easy game, especially the first time you play. It's not that easy. But you have an appendix here to help you, giving you some summary of what the tiles do and the cards. I don't like the appendix. I had some struggles in finding here because you don't have the image of the tile or the card and the corresponding change or explanation. You have like this table where you need to find the name of the thing, and try to interpret what you have here. So this could be improved. But then the tiles they have you can find the tile and then the explanation. So for the tiles works a little bit better. There's an index. Okay, so yeah, be ready because this is going to take a bit. So you have the colonies. I'll explain what it is, the colonies, and let me show you. No, maybe I'll show you after explaining how the game works because it will make more sense. The colonies. Then the way I've stored this, there's the scoring pad, and I just marked like era 4, tiles and cards for era 4, era 1, era 2. And then the problem with this game is that you have houses that you can build or buildings that you can build, and you have several copies of the same building. So I've tried to separate it and put the name on the back to easily identify. Tailor shop, textile mill. So you'll be visiting and returning to these bags or these tiles a lot, especially if you're like the kind of player that will hold the box to bring them. So you definitely need to facilitate your way to find these things, otherwise you'll lose it lots of times. So more buildings. Yeah, all of them are different and important. Buildings. Then the player markers and the first player separated here. More buildings. This is the era 3 content. The starting tiles. More buildings. The money. I've been taking things out and I'm still like half of it. Buildings. Yeah. And these are the tools and resource. These are the workers that you have. There are 3 types of workers: the green workers, yellow workers, and the red ones. So there's a difference in terms of what they do and the cost they have. Oh, this is dirty here. I need to clean it up. So before it starts creating some mold or something. So let me take this out to clean. And I've segmented some of the tiles here to make it easy to reach out to them, which includes warehousing tiles, then resource storage trays like these. These are all different resources: wood, clay, stone, and then the processed wood, processed clay into bricks, clothing, processed planks, and ore. Yeah. And in the bottom, we finally get access to the player boards. Not sure. So the game tells me to store this, so I've done it. I'm not sure exactly what that means. And if you want, there is an introductory. The game is so complex that they've made like an introductory game where you can follow steps just to learn a few turns, and you get to know more how the game works. See how deep the box is? It's super deep. It's like a kind of Feast of Odin kind of box. That content. Okay, so I know this doesn't say much about the game, so what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna stop and just show you a little bit how the game is played. This is how it goes. So we are in the first era, and in each era you will play 5 years. And as mentioned, in each year you play the summertime and the wintertime. Those are basically the same. It's just the first part and the second part of the year. And then in your turn, you have this fellow here, and you start in a market in the beginning of the game. And you have 3 consecutive actions that you do all together, and then you pass to another player. So basically the actions would be you move once here on the board. This happens to be the board of the game, the common board. And you do the action of the place where you went. If for some reason you cannot do by paying costs or because there's another player there or something, you cannot go. So you move, you do the action, then you move again, you do the action, and you move a third time and you do the action. So this requires a sufficient planning for you to know where to go, where is your target, the path that you need to go there, and then how do you optimize the houses or the tiles that you are going to pass along the way. You can at any time move back to any of the markets like a teleport action, and then you do the market action. So starting with the market action. So every era comes with a pack of cards. It has here the first era, and then it tells you what you need to do in the beginning of the era and some of the conditions for the era. And then in each year, in each of the 5 years, there's this deck which has the market conditions, and you just randomly shuffle it, and then in the beginning of the year you show the first card. So you know that once you go to a market, once you step into a market, you can do one of these actions, which would be convert resources into money, or just get 2 wood, or you could have an action that normally exists around in the tiles, but the market also does, which in this case would be the builder for building something, a specific tile, which will be the forester's house, which is to produce wood. Then on the next year, this would change, and then you would build farms, you would change different resources, or you would get different things just by going into the market. Okay. So what kind of things would you find here as to do? So if you stop in things like the Riverbend Grove, this will give you 2 wood. Okay, or if you go to the day laborer, you get 1 wood and 1 coin. Or you could go to the joiner, which has this symbol like a conversion tile, and you can convert 2 wood into a high level wood, which is a requirement for specific buildings. So you have production tiles, but you also have tiles that give you different things. So here, for example, like the librarian gives you 1 coin, and you draw 2 cards. By 2 cards, what the game means is every era comes with a deck of cards, which is like the improvement cards, or like you have in Agricola. So when you take these 2 cards, you keep it, and then throughout the game with certain actions you can use them. Okay, so you can have things like, for example, here, when you go to this tile, the developer, you can get 2 tools, which is a resource for building, and then you can play 1 card. So this one will allow you, for example, to you don't need to go to the joiner. You can convert from your hand once, right? The clay oven, very Agricola, you convert this into bricks, or you get this as an upgrade. It stays in front of you with 3 woods, and whenever you get wood from a place, you get 1 more. Okay, so these are the costs to play the card. Sorry, not you don't put woods here. You need to play this card. You need to pay this, and then this is also a victory point in the end of the game. And then another thing that you build, and whenever you build at least 1 farmer building, including the factory, at the builder, you may also build farms for 1 tool and 1 wood each, so some resource. Here this guy gives you a yellow worker by paying that, and 2 points. In the end of the day, you get, every time you get to a clay space, you get 1 more. This is a storage space, we'll talk about that extra. This gives you immediately, there's no payment, you get 3 clay. Or here is every time that the year, I think this is the passing year, if I'm not mistaken. Every time you see this symbol is end of the year, you get 1 clay, so 1 passive clay. So you get the idea, right? This gives you straight away 4 stones, allows you to build a hollow, a flat, 2 woods. That's what you get here. Yeah, these are all apparently, no, not apparently all different, but you see the style of things that you can get. Anything that is passive that gives you things automatically, it's good enough. What else? So you can also go straight to the building tile. So here you can build a storage shed. You don't need to wait for the market or certain cards. Here you get the first player, which is an important thing, and then 1 clay. And this one, I think I haven't shown you. This one, the library. You build a library, which the library allows an upgrade that allows you to draw when you go fetch cards on the librarian. You pick 4 and you choose 2, so it gives you more variability. And then an important tile as well is called the diplomat. So the diplomat is where you establish partnerships with foreign colonies. Okay, so in the game, you randomly in the beginning, you choose 4 colonies that will be the foreign colonies in this game. And these are the colonies. You see the symbol here? That's the same symbol as you have here, the diplomat. So when you establish a connection with one of these colonies, you gain certain powers that come from them. Okay, and all of them are different. So the Lord colony here in this example, so if you go to the diplomat and you pay this cost, then you create an embassy in your colony for the Lord colony, and you get access to this level 1 power. And then once you get to the second age, the era 2, you can then go back to the diplomat and upgrade for the second level. And then level 3, this one becomes available, and level 4, era 4, you have this final power available. Okay. So all these colonies change the way the game plays and the advantage. So let's see a bit, one of them, all of them. So here, this one allows you to ignore you ignore the action. If you don't want to do any of the stuff that you need to pass through, you can just ignore and you can get this. So this gives you more flexibility in movement. And then here, besides these 2, you now get these options later on. Okay, and you also get the victory points that you see here on the side once you upgrade. So it's not an investment that is wasted. It also reflects in victory points in the end of the game. Okay, so I'll just move it faster here. Then the alchemist colony. So it's a trading colony where you can convert wood for clay and clay for wood. Okay. And then you can do the same thing here, and you also get a new pawn, the alchemist, that is going to be on the market doing stuff on your favor. Okay. Industrialist colony, so on production, you can do conversions, okay, and you can continue doing conversion. Now different conversions you are able to convert during production. The scholar colony gives you more card abilities, you can play different things. Then the envoy colony, you get an extra thing to walk around. So you can move in different ways, expand differently. and then you may jump straight to the diplomat. You can teleport to the diplomat now, and if you pay a fee, there's a fee always in each round. There's a fee if you need to use a place where another player is. Sorry, normally you cannot go there, but you can pay a fee for that. If you pay that fee, your meeple can move one more. Okay. Altruist colony. So this gives also another pawn that you can use, and you have access to some charity, which is extra things. You have also space here to deploy. The trader colony facilitates trades. The labor colony, it's better with the citizens and the meeples that you have. You have some flexibility, because normally you can only put green guys on greenhouses, yellows on yellows, and reds on reds, but here gives you some flexibility. And the last one is a storekeeper colony, which will give you more spaces, extra spaces in different places, so you become a specialist in storing. This is quite important because I'm going to explain what happens in building, and one of the key mechanics in this game is the ability for you to play around and manage your storage. Let's see how that works. By the way, at the end of the year, before moving to the next year, the starting player, which could be the same or the last player that built something, you will need to take the three tiles from the top 3 tiles from this pile here, which are the buildings that are going to be built next. And so he adds to the common board. So that's how your colonies expand, by adding more and more tiles. So in the beginning, that will be very small and short, but throughout the ages, the common board will grow with even more powerful spaces or more options for you to move around and to trigger stronger abilities. Okay, so these tiles, they go 3 by turn. So you have 1, 2nd year, 3rd year, 4th year, and in the end of the 5th year, there's nothing else to be added, and you change to the next era. And you get the deck from the era 2, and the tiles from era 2, the markets from era 2, and things improve and move forward. So that's why you can stop the game at any time between these eras, because you can play 1 era, 2 eras, 3 eras, the 4 eras. The game recommends you to choose whatever is okay for you, because at the end of each era, after doing production, after getting the money, etc., the game can actually stop and you see who is winning. Okay, this may be a long game. Playing 4 eras, especially in the beginning, it may take more than 4 hours. This is a basic look of your colony. You have a grid here of 5 by 4, so you can build within this grid. All the buildings have this size, so there's no Tetris here that you need to be worried about. And you start with a small colony with 2 farms. So the farms each farm give you 1 green man, an alien. And then if the actions that you can do is related with building, then you have several options depending on where you're stopping. Okay, you can be building many things, but the basic things that you should be looking in the initial game would be to build production of clay or production of wood. So if you go there, if you pay the cost there is on the tile for that, then you go to the supply and you get a house to produce like this. Okay, so the houses don't add their bonus if they don't have workers there. So you see that symbol, it says that for this work you need to have a green man there. So the green man's at house, they don't do anything, right? Before production you can redistribute your workers, and so the wise thing to do here would be to put a worker there. Then you know that you will produce 2 woods from that house. Okay. Be careful that later on the game, you have the costs here to sustain the production. So green men, they are so cheap, they cost anything, so you can have as much as you want. But certain buildings will require you to have yellow men, and then you need to have 1 food for those. And later on, these high guys, these eye-level employees, they will require 2 food and 1 clothing, which is a different resource. So that your production needs to really keep up with that, because if not, you will need to have negative consequences. You only need to pay the cost of the worker if the worker is allocated to a building working. Okay, so if they are back at home, they are considered unemployed, so there's no expense for that. Go figure. And so if you are not allowed to pay part of the cost, then you need to distribute your workers to the point that some of them go back home and don't work. And so if they are not working, that production engine will not produce as well. So be careful with that and do your math. Another key component of the game is the storage. So in the production, for example, this building here would produce 2 woods that would stay there. This is called being in a buffer. But in the next production, if there are goods here, it cannot produce again because it already has 2 items there of the resources that it produces. So that's why it's important for you to build storages. The storages occupy the spaces you see here. Some of them go here depending on colonies, etc. This means that you can allocate resources to the storage, okay, and then this makes this free to produce more. Okay, so you really need to have the resources in storage to be able to use them for pay anything, but you can always move them around storage, warehouses, buffer. The buffer for the storages could be moved, but never back. So if you need something new to be here, for any reason, you cannot pick these 2 that are already storage on the storage department, and you cannot move them back to the buffer or the production house. This is not a legal move. And then in every production, you also get the tools. Tools is a resource that you can keep it. It's not well seeked because you'll be generating 3, and there are lots of ways for you to get them on the board. And you can store them here. There's no limitations of storage. So yeah, it's fine. Tools is never a critical problem. The problem will be is your engine of production, which is requiring you to have certain amount of food, certain amount of clay, certain amount of wood, and then to be able to convert those into advanced level resources, which are required for the advanced level buildings. So that's where the true magic happens in this game. End of the game, scoring. So remember, you can end the game at the end of any era. It's up to you. And then what you do then is you count the amount of dollars from the value from your buildings and embassies. The amount that is here in the middle. You also, and also from the cards, some improvements that have. Then you also count the number of dollars you have collected here in the toolbox. That's the money that you produce. And also, investing on citizens is a good strategy because the citizens will have will be worth an amount in the end of the game. So the green guys, they are only worth 2, but they are very easy to keep. Then the citizens are worth 6, but with some costs. But ultimately, if you get a merchant, which is a red guy, it's worth straight away 16 points in the end of the game. So this is a game, the kind of game that allows you to have different strategies. If you invest in embassies, you get the points from the embassies. If you invest on buildings, you get the points from the buildings. If you invest in citizens, you also get points from citizens. So yeah, it depends on how you want to do it and how you're considering having fun. Yeah, it's impossible for me to show you all these buildings in detail. Trust me, it takes a while, but I leave up to you for you to discover that if you have the chance to play this game and figure it out, the differences and what comes in the next eras, the other cards, the era 2, 3, and 4 cards. And the game is crazy enough to even suggest in the game manual that some cards mention era +4, meaning that some effects could affect era 4 and forward, suggesting that potential expansions were thought to include 5th era, 6th era, or whatever, which is craziness. But the game foresees that and allows you to start in an advanced stage. You don't need always to start on stage 1. You can start on an advanced stage, and the manual explains how to set up things initially. Never tried that, but I also leave it to you to discover. And I hope you like this video to the point that you consider hitting that like button and subscribing. I have a playlist full of board games, as well as for all the major card games out there. And if you like podcasts, if you like having some company while you do other stuff, work, etc., I have the podcast, The Table Talks, where I'm interviewing people to get to know their stories, their profiles, their projects, while playing board games online with them. So I definitely think that you'll find interesting content in the channel, to consider subscribing and to be part of this community. Thank you very much, and I hope to see you in the next video. Goodbye.